Hey guys, I wanted to find out a way that we could continue reading Land of Stories because it's really getting good, and I don't want any of our friends to miss out on the story. So if you're choosing to tune into this, I'm glad that you're able to hear what we're reading today. Starting on page 202. Alex! Connor bellowed as he fell. She heard a large thud on the other side, but she couldn't see anything. Connor! Alex screamed. Connor, are you all right? Connor, are you alive? She was hysterical. Alex clambered up the tree faster than any animal that she had ever seen on any documentary. Connor, answer me, she pleaded. Can you hear me? Are you hurt? Alex heard laughter just as she reached the top of the tree. On the other side of the wall, she saw Connor lying safely in a big stack of hay. Hi, Alex, Connor said with a big smile on his face. Connor, you scared me to death, Alex shouted. I know, it was so entertaining, Connor said. Do you really think that I would have jumped if I didn't see something to land on? I'm glad you're alive, so I can kill you myself, Alex said. Jump over. It's a soft landing, I promise, he said. Fine, Alex said. She carefully tossed him her bag before jumping over the fence. Connor was right. The landing was soft. They were covered in hay, and they brushed each other off. Take a look at this place, Alex said, as she and Connor journeyed into the Red Riding Hood kingdom. They felt as if they had entered another dimension all over again. There were rolling hills of farmland for as far as they could see. Cows and sheep were grazing across the fields. Shepherds with curved staffs and shepherdesses in large bonnets attended to the animals with their dogs. Everything is so peaceful here, Alex said. I feel like I'm in a nursery rhyme. They must be bored out of their minds, Connor said. I wonder whose land this is, Alex said. A few moments later, Alex got her answer. They passed a big wooden sign stuck into the ground that said, Bo Peep Family Farms. The scenery was so pleasant that the time went by fairly fast. After they'd traveled a while longer, the peaked and pointed roofs of the town came into view. They couldn't see much while looking at it from the outskirts, but once they were in the center of it, the town came to life. How adorable! Alex squealed at the first sight of the town. It was so dainty and picturesque that they felt like they were in a theme park. It was filled with tiny cottage homes and shops made of bricks and stone walls and hay roofs. A bell in the steeple of an old schoolhouse rang out. Many staff-carrying men and bonnet-wearing women, like the ones that they had seen in the fields, walked around the town, pulling goats and sheep along behind them. Among the many stores and shops were the Henny Penny Bank, Jack Horner's Pie Shop, the Pat a Cake Bakery, the Shoe Inn. Just adjacent to the main town was a boot of gigantic proportions, turned into a working hotel. Who do you know of from a nursery rhyme that might possibly live in a shoe? There was an old who had so many children she didn't know what to do. Well, she has chosen to turn her old shoe into an inn, like a hotel where people can stay. In the very center of the town was a grassy park that hosted several memorials and monuments. Alex was doing mental backflips at the sight of each of them. A small brick wall that stood by itself had a golden plaque on it that said, Sir Humpty Dumpty's Wall. You were a good egg and shall be missed by more than just the king's horses and men. Rest in pieces. Just past Humpty Dumpty's wall was a small hill with a well up on top of it. A sign pointing to the hill said, now who went up a hill to fetch a pail of water?
Yeah.
Marley?
Yeah. I think it was Jack.
Jack and
Jill.
went up the
Hill.
to fetch a pail of. Jack fell
Down.
and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. In the middle of the park was a circular fountain. A statue of a young shepherd boy stood in the center of it, and water poured from the mouths of the sheep that were under him. The carved dedication of the fountain read, "In memory of the boy who cried wolf. You lied, but you were loved." The twins were so enthralled by everything that they were getting strange looks from the villagers and the townspeople. "This place reminds me of a miniature golf course in town," Connor said. "Not the one by us, but that really legit one across town where all the rich kids live." At the edge of town, with the best view of the park, was Red Riding Hood's castle. The castle had 4 tall towers that could be seen from anywhere in town. It appropriately had red walls and a dark red roof. A moat circled the castle and had its own watermill. The castle looked massive from far away. However, as the twins moved closer to it, they realized that it wasn't very big at all. It was just built to look big. The moat around it was so small that one of the twins could have easily stepped over it. "I'll bet you Red Riding Hood's basket is in there somewhere," Connor said. Alex retrieved the journal from out of her bag and began reading the specifics of collecting the basket to Connor. The journal read, "Unlike every other palace or castle, Red Riding Hood's isn't very difficult to break into. The castle was built so quickly after the CRAWL revolution that the builders forgot to add some basic necessities. The kitchen windows located in the back of the castle have no locks on them. The Red Riding Hood kingdom is the safest and smallest of all the kingdoms. Therefore, they're short-handed on soldiers and guards. The halls of the castle are also only patrolled until midnight. And the guards, sorry, my page is stuck together. And the guards don't return until dawn. Sneak into the castle between midnight and dawn through the kitchen windows. Stay away from the main halls and you should be fine. Queen Red Riding Hood has a special room in her chambers devoted to all the baskets she's acquired or been given over the years. Find this room and you'll find her very first basket, the one she took with her to her grandmother's house all those years ago. You don't need to collect the whole basket, just a small chunk of the tree bark that surrounds the rim. It should be easy to identify, as there is already a chunk of tree bark missing from when I collected it. And I was just hoping we could ring the doorbell and ask for it," Connor said. Alex looked up at all of the towers and windows. She wondered which window belonged to the room that they would find the basket in. And as she looked up at the castle, something else entirely caught her eye. "Look over there," Alex said and pointed to the sky. Connor turned to look in that direction, and sticking straight up into the air 100 feet or so was an enormous beanstalk. "That must be Jack's beanstalk," Alex said. "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" "That must be Jack's beanstalk?" "Uh-huh." "No, but I'm sure you want to go see the beanstalk," Connor said. And before he could finish, Alex had taken off toward it. The twins ran through the town and had to take a trail leading out of town to get to the beanstalk. They passed a few cottages and farmland as they traveled. It was much further than they had thought. Eventually, they saw the base of the beanstalk ahead. It was thick and curly and had huge leaves. It grew right next to an old, decrepit shack that was only large enough to have one room inside it. A little ways back behind the beanstalk and the shack was a very large, elegant manor with yellow bricks and enough chimneys and windows to hold a dozen rooms. "Which one of those is Jack's house?" Connor asked as they approached the beanstalk. Alex looked at it for a moment until she figured it out. "Oh, that shack must be where Jack lived with his mother when they were very poor. And then after he defeated the giant, they became rich, and they must have built the new home just behind it," she said happily. "They're both his." Connor shrugged. He had no reason to doubt her guess. "Look how tall it is," Alex said, once they had reached the base of the beanstalk. "It would take a lot of bravery to climb that." Just then, they heard a door slam, and a man came out of the manor. He was young and tall, with short hair and broad shoulders. He was very good looking, but he wore a subdued, sad expression, and he carried an axe and a log. "Look, Alex," Connor whispered. "Do you think that's Jack?" "I don't know," she whispered back. "Let's ask him." The man set the log on a chopping block in the front yard and began chopping the log into smaller pieces. "Hi there," said Alex, being extra friendly. "Hello," said the man, never looking up from what he was chopping. "Are you Jack?" Connor asked him. "Yep," the man said. "Do you need something?" "No, we're just traveling around," Alex said. "We saw your beanstalk from all the way in town, and we wanted to get a closer look." "Many people do. I have to chop it down once a week because it grows so fast." His expression barely changed as he chopped the wood. Was he just accustomed to random people approaching his home and beanstalk, and he'd become numb to it? "You have a lovely home," Alex said. "Except for that eyesore in front," Connor said, and he nodded toward the shack behind him. "Connor, be polite," Alex said. "I've turned it into a wood shop," Jack told him. He finished chopping the wood. He collected the pieces in his hands and went into the shack, slamming the door behind him. "Well, someone isn't much of a conversationalist," Connor said. "I wonder what's wrong with him. He seems so different," Alex said. "Have you met before?" Connor asked. Sometimes he wondered if his sister had forgotten that they were from another world. "No, I just mean from the way he's always been described," Alex said. "He was always so energetic and adventurous. I wonder what's troubling him." "Maybe he doesn't like people coming up to his house," said Connor. "If I were him, I'd get really annoyed too." Connor had another sarcastic comment to add, but he was distracted by a high-pitched sound coming from inside the manor. "Do you hear that?" Alex asked Connor. "It sounds like singing." They both turned to face the manor as a set of window shutters were pushed open. The twins wouldn't have believed it if they wouldn't have been so close, but standing behind them in the open window was a golden woman. She happily sang a soprano ballad as loudly as she could. A set of strings played along with her, but the twins couldn't see where the music was coming from. "Oh, the day is here, and so am I, to wistfully dream as birds that fly. If I had legs, I'd see the world and travel away. But I'm only a harp, and this window is where I shall stay." She turned to face the twins as she sang the final note, and they noticed a set of strings connected to her back. The strings played magically along with her voice. She was a magic harp. Does anybody know where the magic harp came from? How did Jack get a magic harp that sings and plays music? What did he find at the top of his beanstalk, guys? Gold. A goose that laid golden eggs. Treasure. But what did he have to face in order to get those things? A big what?
A big giant.
A big giant. All right. See you soon, guys. Bye.